This is Joshua Hoff, JTH Boxing. Today I'm here at the Cutlers Hall in Sheffield. I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by Eddie Hearn. Eddie, first of all, how are we doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm very excited for the show tomorrow. I think it's a banger from top to bottom. Obviously, the main event is incredible, and I think the atmosphere is going to be great.
I think when we look at this card in terms of the Zone's UK schedule, Matchroom's UK schedule, I think it is up there. It's probably one of the biggest of the year. This main event is something that's been talked about for years, and I think if we were to look at Wood versus Warrington, let's say 3 years ago, you wouldn't have given Lee Wood a chance at all. Whereas now he's coming into this fight as a favourite. I feel like some people's minds may have changed today after looking at the weigh-in, but then again, we are quite used to seeing that Lee Wood never looks too good on the scales, and we know that he's quite big for the weight. We're just how excited we to get this main event, and we are now just one sleep away.
Yeah, I think, funnily enough, I think we looked at Lee Wood as an opponent for Josh Warrington about 3 years ago, and it was kind of like, I don't think it's credible enough. Do you know what I mean? And now he's a favourite going into the fight. I wouldn't worry too much about what you saw on the scales. I don't think Lee Wood has ever looked too impressive on the scales. I know he didn't struggle as much this time as he did in the last Lara fight, but Josh looked good. He looks confident, and tomorrow Lee will refuel, and it's just a great fight for British boxing. I think the kind of fights we need to make.
I think the real beauty about this fight is that it's so big without having a fake beef or any grudge pushed together. It's just two working class men representing their city. I'm a Nottingham boy myself, so I quite like Lee Wood a lot. But it's one of those fights that could really capture the British fight fans, couldn't it? Yeah,
it's one we should be proud of. And as a promoter, when you make a fight like this, the atmosphere, the fight itself. And both guys looked at each other in the eye at the weigh-in, and it wasn't like, yeah. It was like, let's fucking have it. It's like, yes, they're up for it, and they're going to deliver for us tomorrow night.
When you look at this undercard as well, it's a very good undercard. There's a lot of 50-50 fights, and I feel like this is a card where you could kind of get away with a bit of a weaker undercard, but you've gone all in. You've got a lot of good fights, haven't you?
A lot is about timing, fighter obligations. We need to be better and tougher in terms of making more competitive fights, because, to give you an idea, you go into a meeting with a trainer, manager, sometimes fighter, lawyer, whatever, and you go, right, I want you to fight so-and-so. And they go, we just want one more run out, and then we'll do that fight. And most of the time you go, okay, you put that fight on and everyone moans how shit it is. It's a complete waste of money for the card and the zone and the fans. But if you don't do that, you might lose the fight. But if you feel like they're turning down the right opportunity, I think you've got to push them to say, no, this is the fight you're taking. Or if not, we can't help you anymore. But you've got to be prepared to lose fighters to make the right mix of a card. And tomorrow night is just one of those cards that mixes really well. Even the before the bell stuff, but Boston in a good step up. I really like Conor Coghill against Opetaia Price. Everybody's been loving Linus Adofia against Kieran Conway. Of course, Harper Brackhouse is a great unification as well, and Wood Warrington. It's just a show that's come together with a lot of good fights, and a lot of the way that you can keep the hardcore happy is by making good trade fights. And Coghill against Price and Linus against Conway are good trade fights where you could walk out on the street and go, Linus Adofia is fighting Kieran Conway, and the bloke goes, who are they? But the noise online is, that's a really good fight, and you've got to take care of all facets of the audience. And tomorrow's just a perfect mix in terms of the card.
So as a promoter, are you now really pushing to make step your fighters on? Because obviously when you look at some other promotions, you'll see fighters who are quite deep in their career now and still haven't had a lot of tests, whereas someone like, for example, Opetaia Price, he's still coming up and he's in a very tough fight tomorrow, British title eliminator as well. Is that what you're trying to push for your fighters now?
You've got a responsibility to give them the right fights and bring them through at the right pace. But when you feel like it's the right fight, when your trainer feels like it's the right fight, I don't mind paying the money for the right fight. But what I don't want to do anymore is pay money for a shit fight. Because I have to sit there watching, going, how much did this fight cost? I'm looking at social media, everyone's going, rubbish, mismatch. Do you know what I mean? No one's even in the stadium, they're all having a beer outside. So, but because of how competitive it is in terms of promotions, etc., you do it because you don't want to lose the fighter. Because someone else will sign them. Now I'm starting to get to a point, and I think we're in a good enough position to say, okay, if you don't acknowledge our plans and you're not prepared to take, and I'm not talking about 50-50s, I might be talking about 70-30s. the right step-ups at the right time. And that's, we want to work with fighters that are prepared to step up, but we also have to respect their career and guide them in the right way.
I want to turn the attention away from this now and look at the card from last week, Opetaia versus Jordan Thompson. I think, obviously, we knew this was going to be a big test for Jordan Thompson. He's not got a massive amateur background. This was a real step up. I think you could just see the golfing class in there, but what a fighter Jai Opetaia is, isn't he?
Yeah, and I knew that was a big night for Jai worldwide, because the love he's had from the British fight fans, etc., has been, the British fight fans know their boxing, and they saw a pound for pound great fighter last week. So it's a big night for him, and I think he's got a huge future.
One of the fights that he did call for in the ring was Chris Billam-Smith, but he's tied up with either the Okolie rematch, but obviously I want to quickly get your thoughts on Sky. Do not want to let Lawrence Okolie headline after his first 2 fights on there since leaving Matchroom. Apparently Sky just do not want him to headline. What are your thoughts on that, if you have any?
I mean, when they made the proposal to him, he was going to be the face of Sky boxing. That's what the proposal said. I saw it. Now they don't want to give him a fight, and it's got nothing to do with Lawrence. Lawrence will have a rematch clause in his contract, so enforce it. It won't say in the clause, unless he's got the worst lawyer in the history of sports. You've got a rematch, but only if the broadcaster says they'll air it. It will just say you've got a rematch clause. So that's Sky's boxer's problem, not Lawrence Okolie. And if I'm Lawrence Okolie, I'm saying give me that rematch now. I gave you a voluntary defence in Bournemouth, by the way, in your backyard, because I had a rematch clause. I lost. Now it's my time to win it back. And by the way, I'll be pushing to do it in London as well. So I'm sure Lawrence will get the rematch. He's surely got people around him good enough to make sure that's exercised.
I want to quickly talk about Jordan Thompson as well. Obviously, it's no secret that he struggles to make cruiserweight. You've come out and said last week that he will be going up to heavyweight. Obviously, I know he's going to want to take some time back now and just relax, but when he's ready to come back, what are you going to be looking for Jordan?
I went in the change room and the first thing I said was, heavyweight for you now. He's like, oh, thank you. It's like, making weight and being big at the weight is one thing, but having the durability and the engine to overcome it is another. And I think now heavyweight, and I think you're going to see a great fighter up there.
And finally, I just want to quickly get your thoughts on Canelo versus Charlo last week. A lot of people were left a bit underwhelmed by the fight. Charlo didn't seem he really wanted to go out on his shield, especially when you look at the way John Ryder went in there against Canelo. Apparently Charlo was just nothing like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Disappointing. I didn't think he tried to win the fight. I think the whole thing was a bit underwhelming. Canelo carries everything because he's the face of boxing. He's a huge star. But, you see a fighter going with an opportunity like that, you'd hope for more.
Eddie, I'm going to let you go now. Thank you very much for your time, as I know you do a lot of media, and I'm sure we'll speak again pretty soon. Thank you. Cheers.